Hey guys, Sak here from SAKITECH, and in today's video what we're going to do is we are going to be comparing Google's latest Pixel 7 Pro versus the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. These are the latest flagships both from Google and Samsung, and a lot of people are wondering exactly how they stack up against each other. So let's dive in and do a full comparison of every aspect of these smartphones and see exactly which one is better and why. We'll talk about every detail: performance, camera, specs, design, display, and much more. And at the end of the video, we're going to get you some precise answers. Now, one thing we're going to mention right off the bat is the pricing. The pricing on the Google Pixel 7 Pro is quite reasonable. This thing is only $900. That's less than $1,000. It's got many flagship qualities. And the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, it's a loaded phone, but it does start at $1,200. So there's a $300 price difference between the two. So as we're doing this comparison, you want to keep that price difference in mind. All right, the very first thing I want to quickly talk about is the processor and performance. So both of these phones are extremely snappy to use. They're smooth, they're fast, they're very responsive. So let's quickly look at the specs. So the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor. It does start at 8 gigabytes of RAM if you get the 128 gigabyte model, but if you get the 256 gigabyte model and up, you are going to get 12 gigabytes of RAM standard. The maximum storage capacity is going to be 1 terabytes. We do not have a micro SD expansion option. Now, the Google Pixel 7 Pro has Google's Tensor G2 chip. That is their second gen chip. All their models come with 12 gigabytes of RAM standard. You can get a 128 gigabyte model, a 256 gigabyte model, or a 512 gigabyte model tops. S22 Ultra, like we mentioned, can be acquired in 1 terabyte maximum. The Pixel does not have a micro SD expansion either. Now let's quickly look at the benchmarks and see how fast the chips are on these guys. So I just ran a couple Geekbench tests on these guys a couple minutes ago, so I'm going to show that to you right now. So I'm going to go to Geekbench right here, and I'm going to go to Geekbench right here, and surprisingly enough, the Tensor 2 chip here is very close to the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. You can see we have a single core of 145, that's 1221, and that is multi-core 3207 3373. So it's very similar to the S22 Ultra, because I was expecting a bigger lead from the S22 Ultra. But looks like the Tensor chips are going to be catching up to these chips very fast. So this basically is going to translate to similar performance when you're gaming, editing movies, and overall day-to-day tasks. But like we said, they both feel super snappy and smooth regardless. Now, the Pixel phone is slightly more smoother because it doesn't have any extra layers. Remember, with Samsung phones, you have the Samsung One UI overlay running on top of Android, but Google is the maker of Android, so this is the cleanest, freshest form of Android, which also means it is actually less customizable than this one right here. We'll talk about that in the software section. Now let's move on and talk about the build and design. Alright, so first, when it comes to the actual build quality, the Pixel 7 Pro is built on the front and the back out of Gorilla Glass Victus. And I'll tell you one thing, when you hold this in your hands and you look at it, it feels like a piece of jewelry. It feels like $1 million, a pleasure to hold in your hands. No question about that. Now, the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra is slightly ahead. It actually uses Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the front and on the rear. So it's going to be a slightly more durable phone than the Pixel here, but it's not going to be a huge difference. But that is why I mentioned the price in the very beginning. That's how they are able to reduce the price, by taking a hit on these little things. So Victus Plus, and then we can move on and talk about the design. Now, both of these phones look gorgeous from all angles. In fact, the back design on the Pixel is quite a pleasure. I love this bar-like camera. It's a uniquely Pixel, uniquely Google design. It's just something different, and I like to see things that are different. The only thing I wish was a little bit different on the Pixel was the back should have been a matte finish instead of a shiny finish. Also worth mentioning, if you get the white color, the reflection is going to be much more manageable. Now the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, again, this one also has a beautiful design. This is glass, but look at it. It is non-shiny matte glass. You will never be able to see any fingerprints on this because this happens to be the white color and it is the matte finish. Now, if I had to choose between one of these two designs, they're so unique in their own rights that I probably won't be able to make a clear-cut choice. But you can drop a comment down below and let me know which one you think looks better. Now, other things worth mentioning, both of these phones have IP68 grade water resistance, so that's fantastic. Both of these phones have stereo speakers. But I will let you know right now, the speakers on the Galaxy S22 Ultra are going to be slightly better than the ones on the Pixel 7 Pro. Again, it comes down to that price. When it comes to dimensions, you can see them side by side. The S22 Ultra is a taller phone, it's a wider phone, but they have the same thickness. Not a huge deal, but also the S22 Ultra is a little bit heavier. Let's move on and talk about the display. Alright, when it comes to display, the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra has the slightly larger screen. It is a 6.8-inch screen. It's got a Quad HD Plus resolution that is 3088 by 1440, and it's got 500 pixels per inches. It is an HDR10 Plus certified display. And of course, it has a 120 Hz refresh rate. The Pixel has a 6.7-inch display. We also have a Quad HD Plus resolution. It's 1440 by 3120 with a PPI of 512, which makes it slightly sharper than the S22 Ultra. It does have a 120 Hz display refresh rate, and it does have HDR support. Now, one big thing here is the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra has the brighter display. The peak brightness on the S22 Ultra is going to be 1750. On the Pixel 7 Pro, it's going to be 1500. So not a huge difference, but certainly in daytime conditions under direct bright sunlight, the S22 Ultra is going to be easier to see. And one more thing that may or may not matter, the hole cutout size on the S22 Ultra is actually smaller than the one on the Pixel 7 Pro. So that makes it a little bit different as far as eating into your display real estate. Alright, so let's quickly talk about the software. So when it comes to software, the only thing I'm going to tell you guys where the Pixel 7 has the advantage is it just feels a little bit more consistent, a little bit more smoother. Like we said, this is pure Android. This is a more customizable experience. So when it comes to customization, the Samsung actually wins. Let me show you a quick and simple example. So let's say I want to move 5 applications from this screen to this screen. Look at what I can do on the Samsung. Press and hold, tap on select. I can select the apps I want. Press and hold, they get bundled together, and I move over. Boom. Okay? Now with this one, I can't do that. I have to move it one by one, just like that. Another thing that I cannot do is, and that's going to take a lot more time, by the way, so look, let's put that back here. Another thing that I cannot do that I don't like is I cannot have a screen that is just empty like this. If I remove this widget, for example, let me just remove this widget, remove, that screen disappears. So I cannot have a clean screen like this where I can showcase a wallpaper just like that one. Again, if I pinch the screen, I have the ability to set this as a home screen. Look at that icon, that's a home. So when I go over here and tap on home, it goes to that screen. Can't do that on the Pixel. I don't know why you can't. When it comes to that kind of customization, Pixel has some catching up to do. And on top of that, if I press and hold, Pixel has some dynamic wallpapers you can set on your phone, but you cannot set things like this. So look at this, is a video wallpaper you can have on the Samsung's lock screen. So let me show that to you. So again, can't do stuff like this on the Pixel. So this is more customizable, more fun in that way. This is more bare bones, but a little bit more smoother, so that's a big difference. And of course, one more thing, we have the S Pen, this guy right here, for the Samsung phone. So if I click on this, I'm able to take notes. I can tap on create a note. I can write on this as clearly and smoothly as I can write on a piece of paper. I can draw. I can even use the S Pen to navigate the phone, as you can see. I can also use the S Pen to remote control my Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. So if I go over here and launch the music application, for example, Samsung Music, so press to play, press to stop. Okay, so it's got Bluetooth controllable features that allow you to control the phone with the S Pen. And of course, the S Pen is a major attraction for Samsung Galaxy S22 owners and previous Note owners. But they're both pretty amazing, and some people just like simplicity over complexity. So it's gonna be up to you. Alright, so let's talk about the camera. On the rear, the Pixel has a 50 megapixel main camera. It's got a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera and a 48 megapixel telephoto camera capable of 5 times optical zoom. You can also do 30 times hybrid zoom. That's a total of 3 cameras. The S22 Ultra has 4 cameras. 108 megapixel main camera, 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, and 2 telephoto cameras, 10 megapixels each. The telephoto camera is capable of doing 10 times optical zoom and up to 100 times hybrid zoom. Now, people make a big deal of the cameras, but I'll let you know right away, both of these are flagship cameras. Everyday photos of yourself, your friends, your objects like your cars, maybe your pets, your kids, they're just going to come out great on either one of these cameras. Most consumers are going to be fully satisfied with either camera. But the S22 Ultra does have some extreme options. It can do 8K video recording if you need it, and also it can do 100x zoom, again, if you need it. So if you zoom in to far away subjects, you're going to get sharper photos with the S22 Ultra. But going back to the average consumer, most people just take photos of their friends, themselves, their kids, their pets, of nature and this and that, and all that is going to look amazing on both of these cameras. Many camera comparisons overcomplicate the comparisons, which doesn't matter to the average consumer. So both cameras are great, but the S22 Ultra is going to be a little bit more extreme, more versatile. You can let me know down below if these things matter to you or not. Alright, so now when it comes to battery, I haven't had the chance to fully test the batteries yet, but I think it's going to be similar. I never had problem with my S22 Ultra's battery life. This is the Snapdragon version. Always lasts me a full day, and from the reports I'm hearing, the Pixel 7 Pro is also easily lasting a full day. Beyond that, they both have fast charging. Now the Pixel's wireless charging is a little bit faster than the wireless charging on the S22 Ultra, but the wired charging is very comparable. In 30 minutes of charge, you get almost 50% off battery life on both. You can see both of these phones also have the wireless power share feature. You can use the back of your device to charge other products, so that's great as well. So similar feature set when it comes to battery. Now when it comes to biometrics and security, both of these phones have a fingerprint sensor and a face unlock feature. You can see it right here, face unlock and fingerprint, face recognition and fingerprint. If I go in here, I can make modifications from here, add multiple fingerprints and face unlocks. Same story here. The big difference is the fingerprint sensor on the S22 Ultra is simply more expensive. It's the more advanced ultrasonic fingerprint sensor. This one has an optical fingerprint sensor. So let me turn that off. It does work pretty fast on both phones. So let's tap. Boom, we're good to go. And then over here, boom, good to go. So they work super fast, but this one is a more advanced fingerprint sensor. And like I said, more expensive. So that's how the phone itself is also more expensive, because it is using the most expensive components across the board. So we have looked at just about everything. What's the conclusion? As we have seen throughout the video, the S22 Ultra is the better smartphone. It uses the latest materials in its construction, such as the Gorilla Glass Victus Plus instead of just Victus, has extra features like the S Pen, has a brighter display, has more software customization, uses an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor instead of a cheaper optical sensor, and other things like that. However, do any of these justify the $300 extra price tag for most people? That's where one can actually make the argument that the Pixel 7 Pro might be the better buy for many people. At $900, it is a compelling package. A flagship camera, fast wired and wireless charging, a great display, beautiful fresh design. It is almost the iPhone of Google. So I would say, even though the S22 Ultra is the superior phone, it is also $300 more expensive. And some of the extras you get, you may not even need them. So unless you specifically want the S Pen, or 8K recording, or 100x zoom, why buy the S22 Ultra? Now, if you want those features just in case, then buy the S22 Ultra. But otherwise, get the Pixel 7 Pro instead for $900 for all the right compromises. So it is a little tricky situation, but that's how it plays out for me. And that's the advice I would give you.